Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys checking today's video out and spending some time with me, because we're going to be talking about shad kills today. What happens when the shad start dying off in the winter time. This can be a very challenging time to catch fish, but I've got some techniques and tips I'm going to pass along with you guys today that ought to help you out if you experience that over the next couple months. Also, guys, just a big thank you out there. I wanted to extend to everybody out there just taking time to hit that subscribe button here to the Fishing Teacher. Also, thank you everybody out there that's been using my Tackle Warehouse link that I put in every description and all the rest of the links in the descriptions. You guys are really supporting the channel very graciously by doing that, so I really appreciate that. Now, okay, if you're not familiar with this, normally what happens based upon the part of the country you're in is in January and February, you're going to have some level of a shad die-off, usually, if you have typical weather patterns. Usually what happens is you're going to have a shad die-off if the water temperature drops down into the 40s or cooler. So if you're in a part of the country where your water temperatures don't get into the 40s, you're probably not going to experience this, but a lot of lakes do. It's like even lakes in northern Alabama, northern Georgia, even some in northern Texas, they'll have water temperatures in the 40s. My part of the country in the Ozarks, we get ice on the lakes, quite common in the wintertime. So shad kills are prevalent in a lot of different parts of the country. And normally, if you've never seen this, how you're going to notice it is you're going to start fishing down a bank or something, and you're going to start occasionally noticing shad swimming across to the surface on their sides, and they're struggling, and sometimes they're sinking, and sometimes they're coming to the top. And it's not like you've got these big massive amounts of dead shad everywhere, but you have shad that are struggling. Now, eventually what happens if the water gets extremely cold and this goes on for a period of time, you're going to start noticing dead shad up on the bank. They're going to float to the surface sometimes, or just be suspended. The wind blows them against the bank. Sometimes you can notice hundreds of dead shad up on the bank. So that's how you can identify it. Okay, now here's what happens when you have a shad kill in terms of how it affects the bass and what you need to do with it. If you are in an area where you're noticing a lot of dead shad, guys, you're going to be better off getting out of there. Now, one thing to remember is the shad do not die off all over the lake in the same quantities or even at all. Some parts of the lake, you simply don't have the shad die off that you do in other parts based upon how it's positioned. But if you start noticing a lot of shad in the water that are dying or flickering around and looking like they're not doing well, or you're seeing shad up on the bank, you're going to have a tough time catching fish, because simply when you have a large amount of dying shad in the lake, it makes it too easy for the bass to get the shad. They're just gorging themselves and they're stuffing themselves, and they don't have to be picky. They're not going to attack a jerkbait or an Alabama rig when they have hundreds of dead shad that are easy prey for them. They don't have to expend any energy to catch. So the first piece of advice I can give you is get away from the dead shad. It's really the most important thing that you can remember. Okay, the next thing that I have figured out as far as when there's some type of a shad kill is you have got to concentrate on the lures that are not shad resembling lures. So if there's a shad kill out there, guys, I don't really do that good on little swim baits or jerk baits or Alabama rigs or underspins or any type of a lure that looks like a shad. I want to concentrate on those bass that are feeding on crawdads for the most part. So I have noticed when that water's in the 40s and fishing's tough because of a shad kill, I go either to a jig or a crankbait. Crawdad crankbait like a wigglewort or a rock crawler, and some type of a crawdad imitating jig, some type of a brown or brown and orange with a green trailer on it. And I concentrate on areas that have just a little bit of stain in the water. That's another thing about it. If you get into an area where there's a lot of shad kill, one of the things you can do is start going not in the upper part of the tributaries, but start going like in the major creek arms and the major river arms, and start fishing about halfway up those tributaries, looking for a little bit of an off color to the water. Not dirty, but say for example, if you got water clarity that's 4 or 5 foot on the main lake on the lower end, and you go up into a creek arm and you can get into 2 foot of visibility, that's what I'm looking for. And I'll take that crawdad crankbait and that jig, and I'll just start working rocky banks, riprap banks, rocky banks, bluff banks, any type of an area that has larger rock on it that can attract crawdads. That to me has been the best way to catch them. I probably personally have caught more bass on a crankbait during a shad kill than I have any other lure out there, followed up closely by a jig. And like I said, if there's a big shad killing going on out there, I'm not going to be fishing a shad resembling lure. So that's just a few tips with it. Like I said, it doesn't last very long. Most of the time, the shad kill is going to be a couple weeks, and then it sort of starts dissipating. But it's something you're going to have to deal with if you do fish in the wintertime in most lakes across the country. So hope it helps out, guys. We'll talk later.